Call the meeting to order.
Coffee?
Here.
Kelly?
Here.
McKinley? Testory?
Yes.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Proclamations, presentations, resignations. Deb Zimmerman is here, the representative from IMET.
Right.
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. All right. You get right to it. I like this. You are welcome. City Attorney, would you like one?
Sure. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's see. Okay, I am Deb Zimmerman, and Sue, thank you so much for inviting me to come and discuss with you.
We have a camera talking to the public.
Oh, okay.
No, we didn't talk to them.
Okay, I was gonna say, I don't have to do this. All right. Sue, I have known Sue since she was in North Aurora, so we go back a long ways. I have been with IMET for about 17 years now. Prior to that, I was the Chief Financial Officer and the Treasurer for the City of Flora for 12 years. And when I left the City of Flora to take this position, I ran for City Council. So I've sat on both sides of the table there. So I served as the Finance Commissioner then when I was on the City Council. I'm here this evening to tell you about IMET, which is the Illinois Metropolitan Investment Fund. And this is a government investment pool. We were created in 1996. And we were created by city managers and finance directors who came together. And at that time, there wasn't a lot of options for the investment of public funds. And they wanted something that was going to give them more flexibility than just investing in CDs or your local bank and get a little better return. So that was how we were created. So we're similar to Illinois funds, which you may be familiar with, which is the state treasurer's pool. However, we are sponsored by local government rather than state government. That's the big difference there. We have two funds. When we started out, we just had one. It's called the 1 to 3 year bond fund. And 1 to 3 year just means that the maturities in that bond fund, we want to keep it so that we have an average maturity of 1 to 3 years. You do not have to invest in it for 1 to 3 years. But it is, really it was set up for funds that you would like to invest for more than a year because it has a fluctuating net asset value. So it's a pool where we invest only in government bonds that carry the full faith and credit of the federal government. So you're talking treasuries and agencies like Ginnie Mae's. We do not invest in Fannie Mae's because that is permissible under the Investment Act. The 1 to 3 year fund also has a 5-day liquidity, so once you put your money in, you can get that out in 5 days. Like I said, it was created with the intention of investing for a little bit longer because on a daily basis, the shares are marked to market or they're valued on a daily basis. So every day, that can fluctuate a little bit depending upon what's going on in the market. But when you spread that out over a year, usually you don't have a lot of volatility. The 1 to 3 year fund is rated by Moody's Investment Services, and it is a AAA bond fund. We currently have around $170 million in that fund. And like I said, 5-day liquidity. It provides for diversification over maturities. It provides for diversification of the instruments. Probably more so than what you could do on your own. We're able to, I think we have maybe 200 or 300 investments within that pool. With the 1 to 3 year fund, you are a direct owner of the securities that are in that fund. So it is not collateralized because you actually own your proportionate share of the treasuries and agencies that are in that fund. In 2001, we saw a need because interest rates were starting to rise, and what naturally happens in a bond fund, you lag the market because your maturities are going off in kind of a laddered thing. So if you bought a 3-year bond, interest rates go up, the value of that bond goes down until it reaches the market level. In other words, once it does mature, then you're going to reinvest that in a higher rate. But it's always going to lag the market in an increasing rate environment. It's really good in a decreasing rate environment because these investments that you got at a higher interest rate, now that rates are going down, you're still getting the benefit of the higher rate until it matures. Then it will be reinvested in a lower rate. So in 2001, we were looking at rising interest rates. Therefore, we created a second fund. It's called the Convenience Fund, and it is a liquidity fund. So we didn't want people to be locked into keeping all the money in their 1 to 3 year fund. They could transfer that into the liquidity fund, and we pegged that to the Fed funds rate. So right now, our current rate on the Convenience Fund is like 1.16. The Fed funds rate is in the range of 1.0 to 1.25 right now. So anytime the Fed funds increases, the following day our rates go up accordingly. The Convenience Fund has a 1-day liquidity. So if you have an order in by noon of any given day, that your money can be wired out to you that same day. The Convenience Fund, like I said, is a liquid product. So the majority of the funds are invested in liquid bank products. So either bank money market products, we have CDs, all of which are either collateralized with government securities or FDIC insurance. And then we do have a little bit longer portfolio which invest in a few government securities or treasuries with a little bit longer term maturity, which then you are getting the advantage of a little bit higher interest rate. So those rates are all blended, and again, that is marked to market on a daily basis. So on our website, on a daily basis, you can go in and you can see the rates for the 1 to 3 year fund or for the Convenience Fund. Both funds provide for diversification, more so than what you could get on your own, because we have 270 some participants throughout the state of Illinois. When you pull all of those funds, we're able to really have a big, diverse portfolio. Let's see, we are a not-for-profit, so we do not have either a board or anybody that makes commissions. I mean, our main mission is to assist governments, public entities. We deal with colleges, we deal with park districts, library districts, police and fire pension funds, but the majority of our investors are municipalities. We are approved for both operating funds and for pension funds, not your IMRF, but for the police and fire pension funds. Let's see here. We with the economies of scale, we're able to keep our fees very low. So we have 2 fee schedules which are included in your packet here. One is for the Convenience Fund. I think it is at 17 basis points, and the other is for the 1 to 3 year fund, and it is at 27.5 basis points. You're also getting professional investment management by being in the pool, because we have professional investment managers, which can be quite pricey if you're going out and hiring one on your own. But when we have one that is actually investing for 270 people, that's how we're able to keep our rates very low. JP Morgan Asset Management is the investment manager for the 1 to 3 year fund, and then Fifth Third Securities and Mishler Financial handle the investments for the Convenience Fund. All of our investments are very conservative. The assets that are in the convenience fund are all collateralized, or they have a guarantee. So if we have bank deposits that are over $250,000 or CD, then it would be collateralized by, and we do require that the collateral is government agencies, something that is going to be very liquid to get rid of in case there would be a situation that you would have to do that. All participants in IMET, we have an annual meeting, and all participants have one vote. As there's really not usually too many things that they have to vote on, but if we would have any kind of changes to the declaration of trust or investment circulars or anything like that, we would go to the participant base, which would meet, usually we meet every March, and you would be asked then to vote on whatever changes were being proposed. We also offer direct deposit of any of your state and property taxes, which we have found a lot of municipalities prefer to have just a direct deposit of that. They're not. We do have some that still send in checks, but I don't think there's very many counties now that are still depositing or sending out checks. And obviously, the state hasn't done that for a long time. So we are a direct deposit. We also offer a service called arbitrage rebate calculation service. So if you have any bond funds that you would have invested with us, at this point in time, interest rates are very low. So there is no arbitrage liability. But as interest rates start rising, and if the interest rates that we are paying you are higher than the interest rate on your bonds, then you have an arbitrage liability. You have to pay that money back to the federal government. And so if you have more than $2 million with us in bond proceeds, we provide that service for free. Then it's a graduated scale depending upon what your deposits are below that. We also have special pricing. So you would be getting it at a discounted price. Bank of New York Mellon is the one who does all of our arbitrage rebate calculation services for us. We have a very robust website, and if I have provided you with some highlights here, behind that is a few, just the most recent, 1 month and 1 year performance data. If you would like additional data, we have that on the website, or I can email it to Sue and I can show you more. But as of August 31st, the returns in the 1 to 3 year fund for the 1 year was 0.39%. Again, that seems low because we were in this rising rate environment, so it's lagging the market. Whereas on our convenience fund, we're currently at 1.16%, but we had 2 rate increases over the past year. So when you look back at the 1 year return, it's showing a 0.82. We haven't gone a full year where we've been at that range with the Fed at 1% to 1.25%. Let's see here. We currently have around $650 million in the 2 funds combined that we manage, and like I said, there are 273 participants in the fund right now. I told Sue I would send her a copy of the participant list. We don't always distribute that unless they ask for that, but I can tell you that communities in your area, Champaign-Urbana, both of those are members of IMET. Bloomington Normal are both members of IMET. Marquette Heights, which is near Peoria, they're members. We have a large concentration, obviously, around the Chicagoland area, and we've got more, in southern Illinois. So Charleston, Illinois, they're also one of our participants that would be more in the central area. Let's see here again.
What's the minimum investment? I know it is, but
we used to have a minimum investment for the 1 to 3 year fund. It was $50,000, and for the convenience fund, it was $25,000. We recently, most people are investing More than that, and we decided that's ridiculous to have this minimum investment. We don't want to preclude anybody, so we will take, it doesn't have to, there is no minimum. And we do not have a minimum on withdrawals. We do not have a set period that your money has to be invested. There are some funds that the money has to be in there, a week or 30 days or something before you can take it out. You can put it in today and take it out tomorrow. And that goes for the 1 to 3 year fund too. Like I said, it's created with the intentions that you're going to invest for a year or more. But they were created for municipalities, knowing that, tomorrow you could have a huge water main break, you could have a transformer go down, you can have so many different things that you've got to be able to access your funds quickly. So even in the 1 to 3 year fund, it takes you 5 days to get the money just because of the liquidity, and we have to sell the securities in order to get you your money. But then we wanted it to be available as quickly as possible. Again, the convenience fund, it's available next day. So we do understand the liability, and there are no penalties for, quote, an early withdrawal from the 1 to 3 year fund. So you could put money in today, have it out in 5 days, no penalty. Let's see here. I think that's pretty much, we're a pretty simple operation. We only do the two things. We, provide for investment of public funds. We try and be very accommodating. We have a good staff. Anytime you have a question or any kind of a problem, you can contact us and we try and resolve that immediately. Is there any questions or anything that you would have about it? Yes?
Maybe not for you, but for Stu. How are we invested now?
Not very well. I was going to give you an example. Right now, we have a large amount of money. I won't say how much. That's only earning 0.12. If we were to take that all and put it with them, we would have made $34,000 more than we're making now, just in 1 year.
Are we into T-bills or do we?
No.
No.
We have some CDs, otherwise it's sitting in savings accounts. And so this is why I want to diversify, because we are collecting approximately 0.06, 0.12, whereas this you can get a net of 0.82. I like the 24-hour liquidity. We can get it right away. There's no penalty. This is a great organization that's in good standing. I think when you see the member list, you'll be surprised. I know, I don't want to speak out of turn, but I heard a story that Lake County up in northern Illinois, they wanted to invest like $1 billion, and IMET was like, yeah, that's a little too much. That's how much they love it. And it's just, we really need to diversify. We need to get more, as I call it, bang for our buck, rather than having it sit there. And it is sitting there, earning very, very little. So this would be one. We would certainly not, and I don't think that would expect us to, put all our money with IMET or our Illinois funds or a bank. It would, this is one step towards diversifying, keeping it liquid, which I'm all about, being a public entity. So, but no, it's mostly, I would say, 90% of it's just sitting in an account, like a savings account.
Yeah, I just want to stress that we also had a pension fund that wanted to invest their entire portfolio in IMET, and we're like, no, we are just one part of your asset allocation. I mean, for diversification, you would not put everything with us, even though we are very diversified with all of the products that we have. That still wouldn't be due diligence to put everything with IMET. We would just be one part of your overall asset allocation.
So this follows the stock market is what?
Not so much the stock, well, somewhat. We follow the interest rates because the convenience fund is directly tied to the Fed funds rate, but then depending upon what interest rates are doing in the market, that affects the value of the shares in the 1 to 3 year fund. So those are priced on a daily basis. And so if Treasury bills, if the rates go up a little bit on those, your immediate effect on your bond fund is it's going to go down a little bit, because if you have bonds in there that are currently earning 3% and then the Fed raises rates, or the treasuries for some reason are reacting to the market another way, and you're getting an additional 25 basis points, well then when you went to sell these bonds that were 3%, and if somebody could buy the same bonds for, or they're going to get 3.25%, they're not going to buy them back without buying them at a discount. So that the effective rate that they get is still whatever the going rate is for the treasuries, which might be 3.25.
And I think, as you see on the sheet, they're AAA rated by Moody's, so they don't make, risky.
There is not, for instance, like in the bond fund, when those are purchased, they're pretty much a buy and hold, because it's a 1 to 3 year fund. There is a limitation on how long of a duration or how long of a maturity there can be on them. We want to keep them short, and for a bond fund, 1 to 3 years is considered very short. So there's not a lot of churning, there's not a lot of turnover in those investments. They're pretty much buy and hold unless the investment manager says, oh, this would be a really good time to get rid of this, we can do better by doing this. Then there really isn't the same effect with the liquidity fund, because anytime rates are going up, we're going to follow those. Likewise, if we're having in a falling rate environment, the the convenience fund is going to decrease along with the Fed funds rate. Right now, we're kind of holding steady. The last Fed meeting, earlier in the year, we thought we would see maybe 3 rate increases this year, followed by maybe 3 rate increases next year. Now they're kind of backing off, and they're saying we're not seeing inflation like they had anticipated, so we probably will not see any more rate increases yet this year. And next year, I think they've kind of dialed back and thought maybe only 2 rate increases. But we will increase your rates today following any rate increase in the Fed.
This kind of mimics the old IMET fund?
Yes, the principle is IPTIP, which is now Illinois funds. So we're liquid like Illinois funds, like the original.
It's a state fund versus just being municipal.
Correct. Yes, it's sponsored by the state. We're sponsored by local government.
Tell us about the fees that are involved.
Okay, for instance, the convenience fund, it's a total of 17 basis points on part of the portfolio. Excuse me, I'm tongue-tied tonight, is only 16 basis points. The difference being that we have $40 million that are invested in like treasuries and agencies. Those we have custodied at a third party. In other words, BMO Harris, I don't know if you're familiar with them, they do custody services. So they hold those and they charge us 1 basis point for that. The 6 basis points then goes, we have an outside fund administrator, so there's another company that comes in and does all of the accounting for us and produces your monthly statements. And they actually are the ones who are transferring the money in and making, for purchases of any kind of securities. They're the ones who are transferring the money and then taking the money in. Then there are 12 basis points, which pays for our insurance as a company, for our staff, and legal fees, any fees that are associated with running IMET. That's the other 12 basis points. And it takes 100 basis points for 1%. So we're at 0.16 or 0.17%. Those assets that are in banks, like the CDs and the money market, those do not require custody. They are, they're held at the banks. So those only incur 16 basis points. Then on the 1 to 3 year fund, we have an investment manager, which is JP Morgan Asset Management. They are paid 10 basis points. We have a consultant that gets 2 basis points. Then IMET is collecting 8.5 basis points for operations of the fund. It pays a little less to us than the convenience fund because it requires less work. So that is the fee breakdown.
Anybody else have any questions?
What's this a real scenario where it's not, where we lose, where this is not a good deal?
The downfall there is if you were to invest in the 1 to 3 year fund, the bond fund, and you put money in today, and I can tell you that today the NAV, the net asset value per share, is $19, and I believe $19 and $6.
41,900.
Yeah. So, let's see. Yeah, it was at 19.419. Then, say interest rates, whatever causes the rates to go up just the tiniest bit for the day. I mean, your rates are actually fluctuating on a daily basis. So the rates go up, the value of the bond is going to go down just a little bit, and you say you would take the money out that day, whenever. We have never had a year over year where money has been in there for a 12-month period, where at the end of the 12 months, the value of the bond was less than it was when you purchased it. There are fluctuations on a daily basis though. So there could be, you could invest the money today and say, I think I need it back out next Wednesday or next Friday or whatever. And if that particular day, the NAV for that share could actually be less than where you put it in. You see a lot more volatility in the short term than you do in the long term. So you can have all these little ups and downs going, but if you look over the long term. So that would be the only situation where I think that you could lose money, is in the bond fund. Now the convenience fund, it is a stable $1 in, $1 out. It does not have a fluctuating asset value. It is a stable value. So if you put in $1,000 today, you'll get back $1,000 tomorrow, plus whatever, the interest or earnings would have been for that one day.
Anybody else? Well, thank you.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. If you have any questions, feel free to get a hold of Sue. She'll get a hold of me, and I'll be glad to answer any additional questions. There is a lot of information about our board. I will go back and mention that right quick. We have an 8-member board, and to be a board member, you have to have a vested interest. You have to be a member of IMET, and your account has to be funded. So, they kind of ensures that the decisions they make are actually going to be good, because they're going to be wanting that, they are living with whatever decisions that they make. A very good board. We have 4 now, who were the COGS Councils of Government. There are several of them in the Chicago area. You've got the Will County Governmental League, the Northwest Municipal Conference, South Suburban Mayors and Managers, and the DuPage Mayors and Managers. And those were 4 of the organizations that provided staff that created IMET. So they always get one representative on the board, and then the rest of the representatives on the board are all at large. So we're always looking for other people downstate or whatever that would want to be involved. Terms are 3 years. So, and it doesn't matter how much money you have invested, every participant is only entitled to 1 vote. So if you have a smaller amount invested, you still have as much say as somebody who has several million. Okay, well, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Sorry, don't make me sit here.
We have 2 public comments tonight. Scott, I'll let you lead off here. This one came in via email, so.
Yeah, I'm reading this word for word, I hope. Farmer City Council. When the recycling subject was started, it was intended for citizens and township people to have options to recycle locally and affordably. This idea has drastically evolved and been taken from an affordable option for voluntary participants into a mandate for everyone. The majority have spoken against any mandate, and it would be unfair to go forward with a big project like this without the support of citizens. I would like to see any mandate removed from the agenda or voted down as recycling and trash pickup. That's from Jessica DeMars.
Any questions on that? All right, our next one is Jerry McKinley. Jerry, you've got one on traffic on John Street. Go ahead.
Yeah, today, between about 4:45, I was feeding my livestock, and a car came down John Street, and he intentionally ran into my garbage can. And I saw the car, beautiful black car and everything, and he came down. I was on the West Road with the bucket in my hand, and I tried to stop the young guy, and he tried to run over me. I took the bucket as hard as I could and hit him right in the grill of that car. And then he came back by, and I stayed away because I was a little upset. And when I'm asking the city, you see up there, the cars come up to that shed. The city's brought rock up there and everything. I want to put a barricade there, so they got to stay out on the road.
Right. It's because those tracks are like kind of flush right there, like they're pretty
When they
bad.
dip down to,
Well, I know, but when they're veering right into your property to
Yeah.
try to avoid the turbulence of
Right.
the tracks on the vehicle, so they are driving onto his property.
Yeah.
I've watched people do it, and I mean, it's just, there's a path. I mean, people have just done it so much that now there's kind of like, people think that it's just part of the road, but it's not.
Right.
It's in his, actually on his property. So I did notice it the other day. I was gonna say something about it.
Didn't you take down the license number?
no, it was too quick, and I was a little
Yeah.
upset. But I'm going to walk to school. I'm going to get hold of the principal tomorrow at the high school, because I had to put a dent in that car. I mean, it's a beautiful car.
Did you call the police department?
I
I called the
yeah.
police department. So can I get barricaded?
If he wants to put a barricade on his own property, he can do that. I don't know if you're asking for the city to put up a barricade.
You can't block the
I mean,
tracks.
well, obviously, yeah, I mean, you're gonna have to talk to probably the railway, right?
Talk to who?
Talk to
The
the railroad.
No, it's not the railroad.
No,
It's the elevator.
tracks.
Oh,
I'm not going to block I'm going to put it on the corner of my shed so it comes out, so cars from the city can't get on
I
up
mean, so
there.
long as it's not out in the street, it would be on your property.
yeah.
As long as you keep it on your property and everything, you can do whatever you want to do there.
Are you asking to do it or asking for us to do it?
Well, I'll pick up the barricade and put it up.
I think you want us to give you a barricade to put up,
Yeah,
is that correct?
No,
You can't do that?
I wouldn't do that. I
Why?
wouldn't have the city
Liability.
advocate that that's the liability.
It's on your property.
Yeah, you
It's on your
probably have to
property.
buy
The city can't
something.
get involved on your property. It's your private property. You put your
So
barricade,
I'd take my tractor and park out there
You can
in
do
front of
that.
those sheds and
do whatever you want to do.
Block it.
to keep people from driving up in there.
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
you can block it.
Thank you, Jared.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second. Call it.
Coffee?
Yes?
Kelly?
Yes.
McKinley?
Yes.
Testory?
Yes.
Motion carried.
I'm done finished this.
I move that we bring to the table ordinance 984.
Moving the table it?
To bring it from the
I'll
table.
bring it from the table. I got you.
Second it.
Discussion.
Is it a roll call or?
Yeah, it's a roll call.
Yeah.
Kelly?
Yes.
McKinley?
Yes.
Testory?
Yes.
Coffee?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay.
You want? Make a motion to approve ordinance 984, setting minimum fines and authorizing settlement of violations prior to suit being filed.
Second.
Do we have any discussion?
McKinley,
Yes.
Chesterly,
Yes.
Coffee,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
motion carried.
On new business, make a motion to approve ordinance 986, an ordinance establishing a minimum fine schedule for the certain violations of Farmer City Code.
Second that.
Discussion.
These are all the same fines as what we had last time.
Yes.
These are just minimums, so
Yes. Most of them already exist. This is just creating a nice little table in the back of the code book so that it's easy for staff or you to find instead of digging through the whole book.
And easier for you to amend in the future should you
Yeah.
decide to do that.
Okay. And it's easier for the public to find.
Yes, absolutely.
call it.
Chesterly,
Yes.
Coffee,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
McKinley,
Yes.
motion carried.
Make a motion to approve resolution 2017-35, Farmer City Chamber of Commerce trunk or treat. It appears they're asking for a street closure.
I need a second.
Second.
Any discussion?
They are, I know that Chief Scott has no issue with this.
Okay, I have a couple questions. They're asking for the 100 block and the square. Out here, that is, the square is not on here. So they wanted to make sure that was included.
I haven't seen her, she showed me the request, but I don't have a copy of it. Is that what?
I think it was used last year. Is that
The same as last year?
Yeah.
It just says to use Main Street, I mean,
Okay, whatever you want
with the
to do on
square
Main Street.
incorporated with that.
And it's broad. So we want to close down Park.
You want, we need a motion to amend it to include the square?
No, it's Main Street.
100 block is not
Fair
Main.
That's fair enough.
They
It's
just
all
want to
Main
make
Street.
sure that they could use that.
That's all.
Same as last year, so. Call it?
Coffee,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
McKinley, Chesterly,
Yes.
motion carried.
Is there a discussion of the inventory policy?
Investment policy.
I'm sorry.
Did you,
investment policy.
did you all receive a copy of this? That was in the back of the packet. So this is just for, again, discussion, questions at this point. You can, we can bring it back on October 2nd or later. It's just with IMET coming and making a presentation, since we're already discussing investments, I thought I would bring it forward. Because I think you need to set some policies so that you have comfort about what staff is doing. So this is an investment policy that I've utilized in the past, other cities have utilized. It's something that numerous city managers have kind of created. So I kind of redid it for Farmer City. Obviously you can read it. The big things are the objective is the safety of the money, the liquidity, which is your ease of access, how fast can you get it. Return on investment, obviously, it's trying to get the best interest rate. Ethics and conflicts of interest is, setting that myself and staff that are involved in this, have no investment in it. Obviously, that's kind of understood anyway, because I couldn't invest in IMET if I wanted to, or Illinois funds or anything. Then where can we place our money? There's that list. There's, you can add to it, you can subtract to it if you want. Collateralization, currently we do have our money collateralized up to $4.5 million. So that's your protection, because the FDIC only protects up to $250,000. So anything above that has to be collateralized. And our money is collateralized, and this would just continue that practice, that anything above and beyond, like IMET, doesn't need to be collateralized, but if we put it anywhere else, as I said, we want to diversify, the collateralization would be required. Safekeeping, delivery versus payment just means, we're not going to get or give security unless we get payment, because sometimes what's happened before is you've given the money and then we haven't got the security, it's not worth the paper that it's printed on. Diversification, again, you can change these percentages. It's just to kind of protect the city that you're not putting all your eggs in one basket. But you can increase, decrease. For example, right now, I'm suggesting that no more than 50% in either Illinois funds or IMET. If you want to change that to 30% or 75%, obviously you're setting the policy. Maximum maturities, again, things like IMET, you're probably looking at your 1 to 3 years. I wouldn't recommend anything beyond that, especially with public funds. And then just internal controls, that we would set up internal controls that would be audited, just like everything else is audited. That protects you, that you know that what I'm doing or the finance office is doing is, appropriate. So this is just something that I think should be adopted, that you're setting the parameters about how the money is invested, how it's diversified, and that you're protecting yourself. And I think if you're considering joining IMET, you could review this, think about it, and we can bring the next item, which is the IMET agreement, as well as this back on October 2nd.
Your percentages here, are they something that that are customary?
Yes, I mean, that's not to equal 100. It's just saying in any one thing, you should never put more than these percentages. But yes, these are pretty standard in terms of maximums. So like, for example, if it says no more than 50% in Illinois funds, that's a general standard maximum. You probably wouldn't want to put 90% in there, but you might want to put more than 20 kind of thing. So, is that what you meant by that?
Mm-hmm. Yes. No, I'm very much in favor of what it's.
Currently, what exists right now is we have almost 100% in one place, and it's earning only 0.06 to 0.12. First of all, you need to diversify. Second of all, you can be making a lot more money of the money that's sitting there. So I definitely think you should make some changes. This would be a guide for staff. Obviously, as we move forward, I think you're learning about me that I'm going to tell you what we're doing, but this kind of puts some of that in writing.
The reason we didn't do this in the past, the bank at that time had a fit whenever I brought it up about limited gift fund, which is the only thing that's available 25 years ago. And that's a good deal. And interest rates were high back then. We could have made a lot of money in the bank. But they were paying us anything. I hate to say that, but it was the truth. They just weren't paying us anything. And we had a little discussion about that. We never did go to the IMET fund, which I regretted. Could have made like 4% more on that.
Well, actually,
Because the council at that time didn't do
Illinois
that.
funds is not doing very well. They're not much better than what we have available.
Not now, Sue, but
No.
back then, it was a different story. Things were a whole lot different back then. That we could make.
So as the economy improves, the IMET funds will go down,
No, they'll go up.
they'll go up. Because they're going to,
Well,
Fed's gonna try
it
and draw
depends on how
money
you
back
view
in.
the economy improving. I mean, obviously, interest rates go up, then you're in a recession sometimes. So it depends on your understanding of the economy. If federal interest rates go up, these interest rates go up, so we earn more. But that can sometimes look bad to somebody who wants to buy a house, because then they're going to pay more on their mortgage. So I guess it depends on what you mean by the economy going up.
well, they raised the rates to draw the cash out of the market, is my understanding of it. The federal government raises rates to draw cash out of the
Oh,
market
yeah.
on the banks. All right, anyhow.
So This is not for action for tonight. I just went through it for you. You can think about it. We can bring it back under unfinished business on the 2nd. And that would be also the case for number 4, the IMET agreement. That's a standard. That's kind of, it's an unusual looking document, but that's how you join.
Okay. On Resolution 2017-36, authorizing the execution of agreement with IMET, we'll table that to October 8th meeting, is that correct?
I thought it was, is it 8?
Second.
Oh, second. Yeah, I keep saying the second. I want to make
Second.
sure that was right, yeah. Yes, I would say table both.
That and the, and motion that and this investment policy.
So we need to bring that motion up for vote and then table it. is what I'm-
No, I just made a motion to table it. Somebody needs to
I'll
second it.
second it.
You didn't just table it.
Okay.
Call it.
Kelly,
Yes.
McKinley, Testori,
Yes.
Coffee,
Yes.
motion carried.
Motion for Resolution 2017-37, donation to the Farmer City Garden Club.
Second.
Discussion.
Community relations, just so you know, is over budget. I think you've seen the end of August report. However, there is enough money in miscellaneous, but I'm just letting you know that if you approve it, it would probably come out of miscellaneous instead of where you've typically taken it from community relations.
Okay, well, I'm a big believer in the garden club. I think they do great things on Main Street. They make it look really, really nice, and I'm all for giving them the money. I think they do awesome work, and they make our parks look beautiful. I appreciate them every day.
I think in the past it's been mentioned that they save us more than what we're donating anyhow. In landscape work that we would have to do.
Yeah, no, they do a great job. Main Street, amazing.
Any other discussion?
Was that a second, Scott?
I think it was already brought up and seconded.
It's been second. I made the motion.
I'm sorry.
Aaron
I made the
seconded.
motion.
Oh, Aaron made the motion.
I made the motion.
I didn't know who seconded it. Okay.
Willard seconded.
Okay.
I think we're ready for a vote on it.
Call it.
McKinley, Testori,
Yes.
Coffee,
Yes.
Kelly, motion carried.
Resolution 2017-38, donation to the Farm City Santa House.
It's my understanding that their request is $1,000 this year, that in the past apparently we've given them approximately, or they've asked for 500. With me being new, I just want to let you know what their ask was and what the past was.
Motion from me.
I'll second it.
Make a motion what?
He just made a motion for the resolution, nobody seconded.
Discussion.
Just for discussion. Sorry, I jumped ahead.
That's okay.
Okay.
Are they planning to do something different than what they
I don't think so. I
normally
think I don't know, did she tell you? Because I know that they were getting cookies, I think before they had got donations, and that they were maybe forced, or going to be forced to buy cookies, like they didn't have enough donations. But that's about all I know. I don't know if
Tree decorating, she's trying to do tree decorating.
tree decorating. Oh yeah, she wanted to add an element of tree decorating.
Yeah, I think she's just looking to maybe have a weekend where there's a little bit more activities, but she did tell me today that she wasn't probably gonna need that much, not the 1,000 or whatever, so, she had said to me 600 today, she thought would cover it all, and I think it was just up to that amount is what was given in the past, was up to 500, not that she spent that much, but the option was there if, because she probably makes 150 at least bags that they give out throughout the month or whatever that they do the Santa House, so, and she buys the little toys and stuff that go in the bags, that's what the money is used for. I do believe that Casey donated some sugar cookies to her, so I don't know if that's all the cookies that she needs, but I know they donated, I think 5 dozen. And I mean, you know, I'm sure that there's gonna be more that will be given out than that, but, there's one weekend where like the VFW does a little thing where they let the kids shop for their parents or grandparents. So that's always like a busy weekend for them, and a lot of kids come to the Santa house, so. This is just information that Mary Kimball gave to me before I came here, just so I would have some information to give you guys about it. But that's what she said has always been in the past, and she's looking to maybe do some, like a contest or something, and possibly give like, you know, first, second, and third place for like a tree decorating or something, and then give the trees to needy families in town. Like, you know, a week or so, week and a half before Christmas, I think like the 12th of December or something. So she's just looking to kind of do something, just maybe for one weekend, not for the whole entire time, but just maybe something special on one of the weekends where they have the Santa house, so.
So do you think 600 is enough?
I mean, that's what she said today, so I assume that that would be enough. Because I asked her, because there was no amount on here, so I just said.
Well, and that's why I left it blank, was because
Right.
of the past and then what her original
Right.
ask was.
Well, I'll make a motion, we set it at 600. Amend it.
Yeah, I mean.
I'm good, Mr. There's a motion made or something.
Well, I don't know that you need to amend it to 600 because it's blank right now.
Well, I was gonna say,
I think
there's
you
no
gotta,
amount.
you know,
I think we just need to agree
We
on
just
the
need to
amount.
like agree on the amount, I think. And I mean, you know, she's not here to speak, but that is what I was told today, was that, because I asked her for a dollar amount of what she thought would be sufficient.
And we have the funds to do this, correct, Sue?
Yes.
As I say, 600 is on the table.
I mean, I'm not willing, I'm not like against, but I don't think that I don't know. I mean, I don't think she'll spend anywhere near the 1,000, but, I mean, we can do 600, because I mean, that is what she told me, so I guess.
Well, it could be a not to exceed, and correct me if I'm wrong, Sandy, but it's my understanding that she would bring in receipts and
Right.
we would reimburse her.
Right.
And so it wasn't like we just gave her a blank check of $500, so maybe if you wanted to do like a not to exceed.
Right.
So this is something that she's gonna bring all the receipts back in
Yes.
for and
Yes,
get reimbursement?
Yes.
I say let's just not exceed the
So,
$1,000.
yeah,
That way, if she does need a little extra, it's there.
right. Because this is a really neat thing I think we have in town. I love the little Santa house. I think it's, you know, it's unique to our little town, and we're gonna have a really good thing this year.
Is $1,000 in the budget then?
Are we all agreeing on that?
Yeah, I
Call
like
it.
that.
McKinley?
Yes.
Testori?
Yes.
Coffee?
Yes.
Kelly?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Make a motion to approve the approval of the engineering services for the NPDES permit.
I'll second it.
Discussion?
Okay. Sandy has here, if you want to look at them, we received 5 submittals. I did a quick review in my memo based on the criteria that was in the RFP. So we had some good engineering firms, some of them were very close. If you look at the bottom of the table, their scoring was fairly close. But the highest rated was Maurer Stutz, based on, as I listed in my memo, getting 95 out of 100 based on the criteria. They had quite a bit of extended experience with CMOM and pollution prevention plans, MPTS, long-term control plans, which is your CSO overflow, as well as UV, which is the latest type of disinfection. Not that UV would probably be too expensive for us to do, but I like the fact that they're into innovative things. They're very big on customer service, client teaming. They believe their approach is not only addressing IEPA issues, but also doing it as efficiently and cost-effectively as possible. They have worked in the area in Clinton Sanitary District, Bloomington, They have and are used to public participation because they will have to put on some public hearings and stuff as we move forward. They provided a Gantt chart, which is your chart that shows, a timeline of, and it fits within what we told the IEPA. The typical cost, the statute says you can't ask them for how much a project would cost unless you have a relationship with them. So there were a couple that submitted their general hourly rate, but some did not, including Mauer Stutz, because they felt that the statute didn't allow them to do that. So I leveled the playing field and just gave them all the time. Mauer Stutz did go above and beyond. I thought they not only came on site, they met with staff, they visited the plant. They actually went and talked to the IEPA about our situation. So that they were the only ones that did that. So they are definitely, I guess, ahead of the curve. I have worked with them personally. I've worked with all of these firms, but I can speak well of their work. So that's my recommendation, but the RFPs are there. The only thing is I would appreciate a vote tonight, but if you want to chew on it, that's fine. It's just we're under a deadline. We're supposed to submit plans and specs by February, March at the latest.
This is for moisture and water?
No, this is for the treatment plant.
Okay. What part of the treatment plant?
We are required to do disinfection. We've been exempt. We've been grandfathered. Now we're going to have to start disinfecting. And, it just depends on what we choose, whether it's chlorine, peneric acid, UV, there's, something that we're going to have to do.
So this company works a lot with UV light and everything and disinfecting?
Well, UV light is an option. However, it's a very expensive option, and I don't know that it's good for Farmer City because it's usually for a community that's under a huge amount of growth, and something that, you get the payback over 20, 30 years, where I don't know that you'd have that here. But if you get peracetic acid is an innovative alternative to chlorine gas or tablets, but
It's very
that's
cheap
something
compared to chlorine,
yeah.
if I remember correctly.
right. And we have a lot of combined sewer, and so one of the issues is getting all that stormwater. We're going to have to start now treating stormwater. And there's a lot of cost to treating stormwater that doesn't need to be treated. Hence why we want to start addressing some flooding and CSO issues. But so chlorine is going to be an issue as well if we have to go with chlorine. But that's a discussion we need to have with our engineer. Is looking at the options, what's going to work best for us. Because even though apparently you did some chlorine preparation, like you were going to start treating it with chlorine a number of years ago, it never was put into place. It would have to be all completely replaced now. So it's not like you can go in there and turn the key and start it up again.
I thought we were treating it.
Well, no. Not enough, let's put it that way.
Is there a motion on the floor?
Yes, there is.
Is there a second to that motion? Second.
Yes.
Aaron. That would be the approval of our studs.
Any further discussion?
Are they the lowest cost or just the best?
I can't, I have no idea. We're not allowed to ask cost. They, I don't know.
Does it improve the water quality?
Well, it's going to improve us dumping nasty water into the creek and the lake.
What you got to put? You got to wait.
Let's put it this way: if we don't, the IEPA is going to start finding us.
All right.
If we don't get this dealt with. So.
See, the trick is, I was told one time, Cub Scout field trip, that you can drink that water coming out of the swamp. Anybody's ever done that, but it's supposed to be that pure when it comes out of the
I'm not going to try.
Neither am I.
No, we've been breaking our test results. Have been breaking the limits.
And this is something that comes out of the water and sewer fund, correct?
Yeah, I mean, I saw you guys walking around, I saw them come to town and walk around, and I thought that was,
Well, we had a number of the engineers from this list did come, but they were the only ones who actually reached out to the IEPA also, so. And then we had one that didn't come to town at all, so. Which is interesting because they were the next lowest on the list, but I couldn't give them any points because they never even called us.
yeah.
Anybody else? Call it.
Testori,
Yes.
Coffee,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
McKinley,
Yes.
motion carried.
Make a motion for approval of the bid to Prairie Ridge detention work.
I'll second it.
We had a bid opening, I just wanted to say, because I didn't get a chance to say it publicly, the reason why this was rebid is because I didn't like the way the contract was set up. It provided no protections for the city, there was no maintenance period, there was no retention. So we redid it to protect us, so it gets done right. And it actually came out about the same financially. So we had the bid opening on Friday, we received 6 bids. The low bidder, JGS Uncovers, actually submitted an incorrect bid security. You're supposed to provide a cashier's check, a bid bond, or a money order. They submitted a personal check, and so the bid was rejected. And the next lowest bidder is Malding Excavating out of Casey for $22,913.50. They can get the work done this fall, probably put something down. What's nice in this contract is now we have 9 months maintenance period. We withhold 10%. And then they got to come back in the spring, make sure that everything is, the seeds taken, and if it hasn't, they need to fix it before they get their final payment. So, so that's the recommendation. If I could get it tonight rather than lay it over, so that we can get them to work.
We had already agreed on this one time, correct?
Yes.
For approximately the same amount.
Yes, and actually the engineer's estimate was way beyond that, so they actually came in pretty good. This latest with my changes that I wanted came out at $43,000 was the engineer's estimate, so it's still a good price. Probably they're looking for work this fall.
So how is this going to be set up? Is this going to be another where we're sitting on top of the ground, or is this going to be underground?
No, this is underground. It should remove that swale, and then it'll be filled in, reseeded, and should drain the way it's supposed to drain.
If it does not, we're guaranteed 9 months, correct?
We have 9 months for them to, actually, they can do a substantial completion. We withhold the 10% for 9 months, and then they can come back in the spring, and if anything, whether it's seed, whether it's not draining right.
Well, that's a good time to do it, because we're gonna see spring rains and all that, and see how well it drains.
It'll be done this year, right?
Yeah, the piping and everything will be done. It may be, open ground, dirt, the seed may not take until next spring, but yeah.
Okay.
And this is paid out of TIF.
And there's more than enough money that was budgeted
Oh, yeah.
for it, right? Okay.
I think there's 55,000 in there.
Call it?
Coffee,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
McKinley,
Present.
Testori,
Yes.
motion carried.
City manager's report.
I just have a couple real brief things. The leak at Pump Van Buren was fixed today.
Yay!
So it was found under 8 inches of concrete, unfortunately. But he reached out and worked with the elevator about, we put flowable fill in so that we could cover it up right away, and then we're gonna come back, but it's still, they can drive over it now.
So we didn't have to cut that much concrete out. I didn't get
No.
to come back by there, did they?
No, and it was right where the guy said it would be, once we had to do the potholing, to see it. The rest area on 74 is now reopened, and so our lift station has taken a hit up there. One of the pumps now has a hole in it and it's shooting water sideways, which is creating a void, so we have to shut that one down. It's only operating on one. So I've authorized Calvin to get an estimate on getting that fixed because it's got to be fixed. He thinks things that are getting flushed, like mop strings and stuff, the pump just was too old to keep up on it, as they cleaned it out and then it was still not working right. So,
You know, we've had trouble with these mop strings and stuff before.
Oh, there used to be rags that went in there.
oh yeah.
They just go down the stool and flush them, and they come up there and get hung up in there.
I assume that's where it's coming from. is
Yeah,
right there.
Mr.
Is there any way to filter it out?
Yeah, it probably costs a lot of money, but yeah.
Sure.
These pumps cost us a lot of money over and over again.
Well, you know, I think I mentioned before that once we deal with this MPDES permit stuff, then I wanted to do a water sewer master plan, and that would certainly be up for discussion about, is there something different we need to do?
If it's coming from the rust area, can we put that back on the state?
My dentist just said that they got their bills paid from 2015. I'm like, well, that's promising.
You know, all I can say is we can ask.
I'm okay with them owing us. Sometime.
Just like the city pays their bills.
So, but that's all I have right now. I was gonna have the Washington and Water Street and John Street on the agenda, but it didn't get on there, so, I'll figure out a way to move forward. We'll break out the work and I'll get it on there. That's all I have.
Okay. Non-agenda items or other business?
Yes. Sidewalk project. I think it's about the fourth time I brought it up, isn't it, Sandy, since I've been around here, roughly. And I'd like for us to do something about a sidewalk project in this town. It's not going to be a short-term thing, it's a long-term thing. It's 15 to 10 years, or 5 to 10 years, something on that note. But to move on this thing, there's a lot of sidewalk that's not good in this town, needs to be replaced. There's brick that's been down since the 30s or 40s, whenever it was put down, and used to take that up. William Street, there's that bridge that's over there, that disgusting bridge that was built about 15, 20 years ago. Built all the wrong ways, unsafe. Used to be a walk path, used to be a bridge across there. The sidewalk was taken out and not replaced. It came down, we had to do it. I guess we could do it, I don't know. But I think, you know, to look and see where you think the sidewalks are bad in town, certain areas, street, I'd like to.
I'm sure that we could probably somehow create a sidewalk maintenance program, you know, where we start replacing so many feet a year.
You're familiar with the Clark Foundation and everything, and how it's 1/3.
I was told about it, yes.
1/3 by the Clark Foundation, 1/3 by the city, and 1/3 by the. But if you did a block or something like that, and people can't pay for it. You know, I was thinking that you could sit there and have the people pay for it through their taxes, or through the utility bill, or some of those things are done. And you know, if they didn't want to pay for it all up front. But it's it would be one of these mandated things that we don't see down here. That, you know, we're going to do it. We're going to do it.
Well, one of the issues when you're talking about new sidewalks, especially in the old town, is you're going to run into issues with the right-of-way. And what I mean by that is the streets are so narrow that if you want to put in a sidewalk, now you're encroaching into, they're losing parking spaces, they're losing yardage. Now, some of it's the cities, obviously.
No, I'm talking about just replacing sidewalks.
Just replacing existing?
Existing.
Okay.
We're not going to put new in. We're going to replace existing.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not looking to approach on any.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we can talk to the Clark Foundation, we could look at trying to do like so many feet a year or something.
Yeah.
Well, how would you handle places like along Allen Street where there's old brick sidewalk but it's scratched over?
Take it out. Yeah. You just take it. That's what people do in this town. When you replace a sidewalk, they have their whole brick in there. You just take the brick out
And put a new sidewalk
and
in?
put a new sidewalk in.
I mean, I love the retro brick though.
Well, it is. It's not. It's not look beautiful probably when that brick is laid, but it's not there anymore, and it's just not the most practical thing to do.
You really have to have somebody who's trained in brick replacement to
Most of them
do that.
like this.
Well, there's certain areas of town that are historic. I think the sidewalk's a great idea. I love your idea. I just like the retro brick part.
I like to take the brick out. I like to expose Main Street out here too. There's brick underneath that. There's brick underneath Plum Street. There's brick underneath Fortune Street, Market Street.
Now, this will
front
be,
Scott's house.
this will be a good discussion for strategic planning, hopefully in the next year or less, about, capital projects. Something to think about though, like you were talking about taxes or how to pay for it, is you could create, special service areas, special, that's a tax, it goes on their property tax bill, like say you do a whole subdivision, and they all pay a portion, it could be 10 bucks, it could be 50 bucks. But they pay a portion of the total cost of that infrastructure improvement. I'm just.
Would be a
kind of
bond issue
spitballing.
if you did something like that?
It's a backdoor referendum, actually. It's, if you get more than 50% opposed to it, it fails. You don't have to, it's not a referendum on a ballot. It's public notice, and it requires more than 50% opposed to it to fail. You don't need more than 50% to approve. Does that make sense? It's backwards.
Yeah, but did I have a bond issue? Would we take a bond issue to do this?
Well, bond issue, you're probably talking a geo bond, obviously, but that's got to be backed by the full faith and credit of the city, which then could be property taxes. An alt-rev bond usually requires 125% of a revenue source.
But there's all kinds, there's different ways to finance things.
Oh, sure.
Different ways creative ways to finance things to get stuff done. Well, I hope everybody's on board with that, because I think it needs to be done. I think it's one thing to help spruce this town up. It kind of looks not good in my book.
I think it's something for budget discussions
Yes.
for starting next spring. January.
No kidding. Wow.
I know we've talked about, I have one, I know we've talked besides sidewalks, we've talked about streets. We looked into doing any of that.
The what?
Some of these streets. Where's the
Yes,
point?
well, that's, I was going to discuss it tonight, is I did walk a couple different areas of the town looking for a street project within the TIF district, because that's going to be closing in a couple of years. And I was told by numerous staff that water in Washington kind of becomes a lake. And so we looked into that because it's so close to tying to the west side storm sewer. And it serves two purposes, well, three. You're redoing the streets, you're redoing, taking out the combined sewer and creating storm sewer, connecting to the west side, and then you're getting all that storm water off of the treatment plant. This is going to cost us money to start treating water now. And then there's a lot of issues apparently. Some of those catch basins are completely blocked, concreted in. And I'm of the firm belief that if you're going to redo a road, you redo the infrastructure underneath. So there's 100-year-old pipe underneath there that needs to be replaced. So we looked at Washington and water, and then Maple and water. And so to start that process, to look at doing that project, to do the engineering now, to be ready to bid in January, February, because that's when you get the best bids, because that's when everybody's looking for their projects for the year, so that they can then start the first spring. We also, John Street from Schneider School South, to get that storm water dumped into the creek and improve that. John Street is such a important street. You've got the baseball complex, Weedman Park, the schools, but only from Schneider South is in the TIF district. So we did look at that section as well. And that's why I want to get the engineering portion started, because there's a lot of work to be done before we could even get the bid going.
Yeah, right there at John High, it always is like cool water every time it rains.
I heard
right
kids
there.
are even like canoeing in it or something.
Yeah, I don't know why, it just.
Well, and it's such an easy thing to connect to the storm sewer.
Yeah.
And the more stormwater we can get off of this combined sewer, the better.
Yeah.
I have one more. Where this waterway flows through town, it was what, 3, 4, 5 years ago probably, all that was cleaned up. Down to this ditch.
Creek,
The
Yes,
creek going along.
the creek's on private property.
I understand that.
It was cleaned up a long time ago by a priest here in town who organized people to do that. And it was about 25, 30 years ago.
Yeah, we did discuss how if we were going to start dumping more stormwater there, that it would need to be cleaned out.
We talked a couple of years ago, and there's a section of that creek I thought was the responsibility of the schools.
Oh, I don't know about that. I figured it would be the county or the township
The
or,
creek.
Everybody in the creek is on
Wow.
private property. It's not a drainage district. That's probably one thing we've got to create a drainage district, and we have access to get in there to clean the thing. It's far different from what it was 60 years ago. It didn't have grass in it. It had some junk in it. It had some bridges under it and everything, but it does need to be cleaned, dredged, whatever we can do to.
although I'm told that it's not, it's not filling up as much as it.
No,
used to.
because the West Side Drainage Project
Yeah.
eliminated that. It diverted the water to the south and took it away. Since that has happened, the creek has not went out of its banks, I don't think. And we've had some rains that really would test that. In the past, the rains that we've had would have flooded all along John Street, High Street. It would have been a mess. But the West Side Drainage Project has eliminated that. That's the best project that's ever been done in this
We're
town.
talking about that creek that runs down High Street around past the school.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah,
The only one
that does need dipped out pretty badly.
Well, it was done
Yeah.
probably 4 or 5 years ago.
To some extent.
All the trees were cut off, but all this stuff's growing back up. I mean, there's no reason that we can't at least make it look better. Little grass killer would go a long ways.
Yeah.
I think,
I mean, obviously, the
fertilizer
property
on the
owners-
field and everything, that's what the grass.
The property owners don't want to clean it up. It's not their property, they don't want responsibility for it.
But see, when we did that the last time, or when Father Massa did it, we had to have good permission to go in there and do that. I think when the city did it, one time we had to get permission to go in there. Some people were allowed to go back in there, that's not their property, things like that, so. But it's always been a dumping ground for tires, and we were putting along, and tires that floated in. So,
Yeah, because they had, George H. Dunn come in when Father Motza cleaned it and took the tires out, I think, right? At that time,
But
25
you
years
get
ago?
out back behind where the school owns now and everything, and prefab had that, there might have been some issues there, and along where the pasture is down there that Mark Bain owns now, there's some machinery in there and things like that.
The section behind the school never got cut down and cleaned up.
Not like
It
it
was
was
from John Street to the old Dodge Street Bridge, where Mark
Yeah.
Bain owns.
yeah, that's,
Mark keeps his,
he keeps it in pretty good shape. He cut it out there and everything, did a good job on it and everything, yeah.
I'll have to find out who's responsible.
Well, I know, when you get into dredging, DNR gets involved because technically it's a waterway. So, I'd just like to see some of it, even if it's just some of the grass, it just looks bad. Doesn't matter where you drive down through there, it looks bad.
I don't know, can you put it into a drainage district? Can that be established, can you, Joe, at this point? Something to research?
Yeah, so it could be.
Because if it was that, then there'd be funds there.
If you're- yeah.
Is there a nearby drainage district, that it naturally flows into?
Kind of, because it could flows
Well,
out
if you were gonna do
flows out
something
east of
like that,
town and
like a
everything, and that goes into what's called the
stormwater
Trinkle
district.
Slough, and that's a drainage district, I think. No, so it would flow in directly.
I said I'd look at a stormwater district if you're looking at a district,
But
because it would help pay for a lot of things in terms of dealing with stormwater.
Anybody else? I have one more thing. For the Halloween haunted forest, they're wanting a fire pit out there for the kids to be able to roast some marshmallows, and I know that the fire department is
Fire department may be on board.
looking to get involved with that and help. That's something they wanted to know if they could do out there. They would be a fire ring.
The insurance provider said the fire ring is covered by insurance.
I don't think we have anything against that, do we? I'd have to look at the code.
The state says, I know from doing stuff out there, the campgrounds, the state says so long as it's a controlled burn in a fire ring of some sort, then there's not an issue. There's no
Did you guys
special
have fire
permits.
pits out at the
Yeah.
campsites, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think, I remember looking at the code once, and I don't remember seeing anything anything that's within like a pit or enclosed.
The idea is wherever the pit ends up will be put back to its original condition.
How's Maple Street going?
Well, it has been delayed. There were a couple reasons. Chad, one of our staff members, he's responsible for the surveying, for the topographical. He was gone for 10 days. Then we had some multiple issues. We had the lift station issue because of the rest area. Then we had the leak at Plumber, there was boom, boom, boom. It's my understanding that they're gonna get out there here pretty quick. But yes, there was a little bit of a delay. But they don't have much left, so I believe they expect to be done, before, like by November at the latest. And I think that's pushing it, I think maybe October, but I don't want to go on record saying that in case something else happens.
Anybody have anything else?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Call it.
Testimony?
Yes.
Coffee?
Yes.
Kelly?
Yes.
McKinley?
Yes.